So in the take-home reading number 3, part 2, I ask you to do figure out how much a house is worth after a certain number of years. And so I gave you the ways to do it with Microsoft Excel. And here I'm just showing you, if you don't have access to Microsoft Excel at home, then, well, you have to have a graphing calculator then to do this problem. So there are 2 ways you can do it. So if you have the graphing calculator, either a TI-83 or a TI-84, so the TI-83 has this button that says apps. So you would hit that. Oh, and then application, so finance. Yep, you want finance because you want to do stuff with money. So just press, oh, what I did was I pressed the enter key. So if I get out of there, so I hit apps, and then that was just highlighted. So I press this button right here. And then TVM solver is what you want. TVM means time value of money. And so that's highlighted, so you just press enter. And you should see this screen that has N, I percent, PV, PMT, FV, C, P per Y, C per Y payment, and begin, and put those, the end and begin in the wrong order. Now, if you have a TI-83, it might look a little bit different. My students last semester said it worked exactly the same for their TI-83, but my TI-83 is really old, and it doesn't have that apps button over here like my TI-84 did. How I get to it is, see, there's this thing over here that says finance, and it's in yellow. So I have to hit this second button. Oops. Okay. I have to hit the second, and then that button with the X inverse on it. And then it brings me up to TVM solver, and I press enter. Okay. And then I have like the same screen, N, I percent, PV, PMT, FV, P per Y, C per Y. So now all of the steps are the same regardless of which model you use. Okay, so for the first scenario, I say, suppose the house increases in value at 5% per year, and you bought it in 1947, and you're looking at the, like, basically now, which we'll just assume like 2017 because we're barely into 2018. So it had been appreciating for 70 years. So N is normally the number of periods. So if you did it twice a year for 70 years, then that would be a total of 140. But we're just looking at it happening once a year. So our N would be 70. In Excel, you change the interest rate to a decimal. On your calculator, you leave it as a percent. So the first scenario was, it was increasing at 5%. The present value, just like with Excel, you want it to be a negative, and we bought the house. Oh, one thing I mentioned is when you put in a negative, you can't use the minus button, the subtraction. You have to use this negative button. Otherwise, you're going to get an error message. It won't give you the right answer. So for the negative 6990, if you already typed in a minus, just go and hit the delete key to get rid of it. So hit the negative instead of the subtraction. So the negative 6990. And then just like with Excel, we're not making any payments. Well, we are, but that has nothing to do with the house's worth, whether it's already totally paid off and you don't have to make payments anymore, or whether you just bought it 5 years ago. That doesn't affect the house's worth, right? So we're not counting for payments. So leave that 0. Future value is what we're trying to find. So leave that 0 for now. I'll show you how we'll get it. And then the P per Y, C per Y, that's just how many periods per year. And we're just assuming that the house increases like once a year. At the end of the year, you get the new value. They assess your property once a year. Okay, so we're just gonna, that will just be 1. So if it was some other number, like say it was 12, then I go back and I just type 1, and I didn't have to delete the 2. It just automatically got rid of it. But if you have to, hit delete. And as soon as you press enter, it should make the C per Y match. Yeah, so it sent it down to C per Y. I don't know if I said this before, but every time you type a number here, like if I wanted to change this 65, I have to press enter so that it takes me down to the next. Okay, so this is what your screen should look like. 75, negative 69.90, 0011. And this end and beginning really doesn't matter because we're not making payments. So you could have either highlighted. Then what you do is you arrow down. So these arrows. So you use the down arrow and you arrow down to where it says FV. And then you press the alpha button and then the enter down at the button. And then it will give you the answer. So I'm not going to give you the answer in the video. So I'm going to change this to be 50 years. Okay. So suppose we only had the house for 50 years. Then I will go down, and you might want to try this with me to make sure you get the same answer I do, and then just go back up and change this to 70. Okay. So I'm leaving my cursor blinking on future value equals 0, and then I do alpha, enter. And so that means the house would be worth, after 50 years, it would be worth $80,157.12. Okay, so what you'll do is now you'll go back up, change the n back to 70, and then arrow back down to where it says FV. You can leave that there. You don't have to change it back to 0. And then hit alpha enter, and it will give you the answer that you need on the homework. Okay, and then for the second house, then I say, okay, so assume it goes up in value for 60 years. So now change that to 60, but only at a 3% rate of increase. So change that 5 to a 3. And then you can arrow down. It was the same purchase price, so leave that. Still no payments. Go to future value and then hit alpha enter. And it will tell you, that will give you the answer to the first question. What's it worth after 6 years? So that would be 2007. So when you hit alpha enter, you'll get the 2007 value. And then I say, well, that's when they had the real estate crash. And so then for the next 10 years, so our new N is going to be 10. And now I say it's going down 5% per year. So again, you have to use the negative button, 5. Now the PV is not based on the original purchase price. It's based on what it was worth in 2007. So you'll have a different number here, right? But I'm just going to use this. I'm just going to use this, okay, what I have here. So whatever you got or whatever you wrote down for your answer to that, what it's worth in 2007, type a negative sign and then that amount of money, okay? And just, you can round to 2 decimal places since it's money. So I'll just type what I have right there, 80,157.12. Okay, and then we're still not looking at any payments. And then I want to figure out, okay, what is it worth at the end? So I'm still trying to find future value. So I press alpha, enter. And it'll say, oh, now it's gone down to about 48,000. Now your answers are going to be different because remember, you're going to be doing 60 years. I did 50. You're going to do 60, find the future value with the PV negative 6990. Then whatever answer you get here, put that there, and everything else should match and whatever your final answer is. Hopefully that makes sense. It's hard when I don't have people in front of me saying they understand or not. So if you have questions, post them in the discussion area.